I want to talk briefly about examine rap, the hashtag that I created recently on Facebook uh, and across other social media platforms. And I wanted to give a kind of thorough argument for the reasoning behind examine rap. So uh, it is my belief that music plays a vital role in the development and maintenance of culture. We have songs for every important occasion in our lives, right? We have songs that celebrate our birthdays, songs that commemorate the death of a loved one, songs for graduations, weddings, and other milestone events. Um, Gospel music, for instance, has such a powerful and impactful effect on men and women that individuals have heard a gospel song while sitting in church and felt so moved that they have given their lives to Christ, and for the next 20, 30, and 40 years have become completely different people, no longer smokers, no longer drinkers, no longer womanizers, no longer liars or thieves. They have found redemption because the power of a song. Love songs have touched us and touched our hearts to make us see the ones we love in a particular or a peculiar light. Music is the soundtrack of our lives. Uh, and music is not just for moments, but also for movements. It's not just for moments, also it is for movements. What would the civil rights movement be without the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize, oh Lord, right? What would the radical 70s be without Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, or Marvin Gaye's What's Going On? However positive music can be, music can also play a more detrimental and destructive role. The American Continental Army played Yankee Doodle as their unofficial anthem as it went out to battle, essentially making Yankee Doodle the soundtrack to war, right? Music has been used to psychologically torture prisoners of war. The CIA uses the song Rawhide as a torture technique. To torture prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, the US government played Enter Sandman by Metallica. So this brings me to my idea of examine rap. So what is an examination? An examination is the process by which a doctor checks a patient for signs and symptoms of an illness. It is my position that rap is sick and the sickness is contagious. So my argument is threefold. First, I argue that rap music has been weaponized against Black people to erode our values and cultural standards and promote violence, drug use, misogyny, hypersexuality, the glorification of predatory capitalism, and the prison industrial complex. While record companies and distributors play a major role in this scheme, it is the rappers who are equipping the record companies with the ammunition needed to weaponize rap against Black people. Secondly, rap music has become a form of hate speech that incites violence against a protected class of vulnerable people. while hate speech is protected by the Second Amendment, but when it's coupled with an action, an attack of some sort, then it becomes a hate crime, right? Rappers not only promote hate speech, they far too often are involved in the physical harming of members of a protected class, i.e., other Black people. And finally, C. Dolores Tucker, right? My final argument is that C. Dolores Tucker and Calvin Butts were absolutely right in their assessment of the music. They advocated boycotting the distributors and sponsors of these type of songs and records and artists. But we as children, lacking maturity, we sided with the rappers. We allowed Tupac, Ice Cube, and even Eminem to convince us that our Mama C. Dolores Tucker, and our daddy were wrong for telling us that this music was destructive. Now, when I present this argument, I get a lot of pushback, and some of the pushback or counter arguments that I get are as follows. Some people will say, well, it's not all rappers. While this may be true, it is the gangster, trap, drill rappers that have had the biggest market share of the music industry for the last 30 years. Since the early 90s, with very few exceptions, it is the gangster rappers or the trap rappers or the drill rappers who are either going multi-platinum and or receiving millions upon millions of views on YouTube. And streaming has only made this music more accessible, and these artists have taken over the top spots on Spotify, on Apple Music, and on YouTube. Moreover, to point out the good rap and to hold it up as an example of what rap is while ignoring the overwhelming amount of detrimental rap is like pointing to the 5'5" Earl Boykins or the 5'6" Spud Webb and saying that these two people are representative of the height of NBA players, while ignoring all of the 6'11" and 7'2" men that dominate the sport. Right? Other people argue, well, it's what the people want. Yeah, it's what the people want. And at this point, it's kind of hard to refute that argument. It appears that this music is what the people want. But back in 1992, I like to point this out. Back in 1992, there were two albums that were released. One was Arrested Development's 3 years, 5 months, 2 days, Tennessee. Lord, I've really been real stressed, down and out, losing ground. Although I am Black and proud, problems got me pessimistic, right? And Dr. Dre released The Chronic, right? Each album dropped 3 singles. A year following the release of Arrested Development's album, it was 4 times platinum. A year following the Chronic's release, it was 3 times platinum. So at one point, there was a larger appetite for an alternative to gangster, trap, or drill rap. However, that market was purposely starved. However, as I previously stated, we are in the midst of an axiological attack that seeks to erode our ethics and our values. There is, however, evidence that the appetite is still there. For example, rappers like Kendrick Lamar, who is considered a conscious rapper, he recently released what is undoubtedly going to be the biggest rap album of the year. But instead of giving platform or giving a platform or giving space to other conscious rappers, Talib Kweli or Mos Def, or finding an underground rapper who does not promote drugs, violence, and misogyny. He chose to feature an accused rapist gangster rapper named Kodak Black. In the second verse of Kodak Black's and in the second line, I should say, of Kodak Black's rap, he mentions his stick, which is a reference to a gun, and whipping a bitch. Within 24 hours, right? Within 24 hours, a song that references his stick, a gun, and whipping a bitch. Within 24 hours, this song had 2 million views. Kendrick gave Kodak a platform to spew this vile hatred and sickness to more people. Some people argue that it's not the corporation. I mean, it's the corporation, I should say, and not the rapper. I say Jimmy Iovine ain't wrote a rap yet. Tommy Mottola ain't wrote a rap yet. When Cash Money, for those who are familiar with Young Money, Cash Money, Baby, Birdman, Slim, Lil Wayne, yeah. When Cash Money was a local New Orleans brand with zero corporate backing, zero distribution from any major label, they were literally driving around to stores and using a regional distribution. They were basically selling out of mom and pop record stores or selling out of the trunk, and they were moving 200 and 300,000 units, right? But they had no corporate backing, no major label, no major distribution, no mythical, all-powerful white man telling them what type of music to make, and they were still rapping about drug dealing, killing, and misogyny. If you go to TikTok or Instagram and you find an unsigned rapper and examine his lyrics, 9 times out of 10, he has no record deal, no distributor, no corporate backing, yet he is still rapping about promoting Black death, drug dealing, violence, hatred of women, because it is not corporate, it is cultural. It is not corporate, it is cultural. And what do I mean by it's not corporate? It is cultural. Look at it this way. One of the best ways to understand what a cultural group values is to examine their heroes. You see, heroes embody a group's values. The characteristics of that hero: he was strong, he was kind, he displayed bravery and valor, etc. It is those traits that the cultural group holds dear. It is the reason that the Daughters of the Confederacy went around erecting statues of Robert E. Lee. See, he was the hero of the South. He embodied the values of the Confederacy. Members of the group, when you have a hero, members of the group attempt to imitate or emulate that hero. So in my father's generation and the generation immediately following him, there are a whole bunch of Black men that are preachers, right? A whole bunch of Black men that are preachers. There's a generation of Black men where being a preacher was the thing to be. Why? Because there was a time when Black America's hero was Dr. Martin Luther King. So now our children don't seek to be politicians like Adam Clayton Powell, or preachers like Dr. King, or educators like Ida B. Wells, or labor leaders like A. Philip Randolph. No, they seek to be Young Dolph. Yeah, or they seek to be Nicki Minaj, or they seek to be Young Thug or Lil Wayne. Rappers are the new heroes. Rappers are the new heroes. And the problem is that we have heroized rappers, and doing so, we are announcing to the world and to ourselves that the traits that these rappers embody are the characteristics that we value. When we heroized rappers, we have told the world that the traits that they embody are the characteristics that we value. But what do rappers embody? They embody violence and criminal traits. Is this what we value as Black people? Is violence and misogyny what we hold dear? If not, then why have we made these people heroes? And if it is what we value, if it is what we hold dear, then we indeed have a cultural problem, not a corporate problem. Some argue that rappers do it for the money, right? Which only furthers my point that this is a conscious decision and a conscious effort to sell out and do harm to our people. Jay-Z admitted as much on his Black album. He has a song on the Black album. He has a song entitled Moment of Clarity. And in that song, Jay-Z raps. He says, thank God for granting me this moment of clarity, this moment of honesty. The world could feel my truth. Clarity, honesty, truth. Well, what is his clarity, honesty, and truth about? He says, I dumbed down for my audience and I doubled my dollars. They criticized me for it, yet they all yelled holler. If skills sold, truth be told, I'd probably be lyrically Talib Kweli. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I did 5 million. Ain't been rhyming like common sense. So what is he saying? See, this is a glaring example of a rapper honestly admitting that he makes dumbed down music strictly for money, not because of corporate pressure. He does it for the money. So what does this dumbed down music sound like? Well, on the same album, Jay-Z raps, I put my gun to you, let it sing you a song. I let it hum to you. The other one sings along. Now it's a duet and you wet when you check out the technique from the two texts. Whoa, what is that line about? I put my gun to you and the other one comes along and now you are wet, meaning you are wet with blood on your shirt, right? When you check out the technique from the two texts. So his dumbed down music is about what? Black murder and Black death. He writes this, why? Because he wants the money. So he is admitting that he is willing to push poison. He is willing to push this detrimental music out to our children and our babies and our brothers and our sisters so he can get paid. We don't see a problem with that. And Jay-Z's willingness to dumb down becomes more egregious when you realize the tremendous amount of influence that he has over hip hop and rap culture. Check this out. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the biggest fashion trends in hip hop were Mitchell & Ness throwback jerseys. The second biggest trend was oversized white t-shirts. You remember fresh in my white tee, clean in my white tee. Yeah, Jay-Z wrote one song and changed the way rappers dressed. In the song, which was ironically called Change Clothes, he said, y'all Negroes acting way too tough. Throw on a suit and get it tapered up, right? And let's just change clothes and go. Remember that song? Well, within a year, the aesthetics of hip hop fashion changed. Jerseys were out and button-up shirts were in. From around 2005 to around 2010, the biggest sound in rap music was auto-tune. And the king of auto-tune was T-Pain. T-Pain was literally running the radio. He had 50 top charting singles, or he was on 50 top charting songs. Everybody was jumping on the auto-tune T-Pain bandwagon. Lil Wayne was using auto-tune. She licked me like a lollipop. Lick me like a lollipop, right? Snoop Dogg, sexual eruption, right? Snoop was using it. Kanye put out an entire album, 808 and Heartbreaks, using auto-tune. Auto-tune was the sound of hip-hop. Jay-Z wrote one song called The Death of Auto-Tune. And within months, the sound of hip-hop changed. No more auto-tune. That is power. That is influence. That is control. Yet, someone with all of this power, all of this influence, and all of this control, he's never written a song called The Death of Misogyny Music. Huh? He's never written a song called The Death of Drug Dealing Music. See, if he has the power to change the aesthetics of hip hop, if he has the power to change the sound of hip hop, then he has the power to change the content of hip hop. Now, the question some ask are, what do you mean by these destructive lyrics, Brother Asad, Dr. Asad? Okay, so let's go over a few. And I wanted to pick some from different eras so you could see that this thing has kind of gradually gotten worse. So we can go back to Biggie. Biggie said on Brooklyn's Finest, which is a song on the Reasonable Doubt album by Jay-Z, which sold over 1 million copies. He says, F a fist fight and lame scuffles. Pillowcase to your face, make the shell muffle. I'll shoot your daughter in her calf muscle. Violence against children, violence against women, you know, like gun violence, refusal to participate in what we would call the masculine tradition of fisticuffs. F a fist fight, he says, and lame scuffles. I put a pillowcase to your face, make the shell muffle. So I'm not going to fight. When in my day, we call that scary. You're scary if you're scared to fight a person. You have to shoot him. We said you were scary. But he says that, and then he proceeds to say, I'll shoot your daughter in her calf muscle. That song was on the album that sold 1 million copies. T.I. said, I will put D-I-C-K in your daddy's daughter, and I dare her to have children. Death she's enduring. Kill her in Mississippi and drive her butt to Missouri. What? What? That sounds like rape and murder. I will put D in your daddy's daughter and dare her to have children. Death she's enduring. Kill her in Mississippi and drive her to Missouri? What? That's rape and murder. That album sold 2 million copies. DMX was far more explicit. He was far more explicit. DMX said, I'm trying to send the beat back to her maker. And if you got a daughter older than 15, I'm a raper. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a raper. DMX said he would rape your daughter if she older than 15. That sold 4 million copies. And when this person died, we mourned him as if he was some great Black leader who had contributed great things to our society and culture. He said, I'm trying to send the beat back to her maker. And if you got a daughter older than 15, I'm a raper. And we mourned him. King Von said, I'm smoking on Tuka Pack and as loud as what? Four of them caught Tuka butt getting off the bus. What is he talking about? Smoking on Tuka Pack. He caught Tuka getting off the bus. Well, if you don't understand the reference, the language, smoking on Tuka Pack is a reference to when they talk about smoking on somebody or smoking on the pack, that is a reference to a dead person that they have killed, and they're talking about they smoking the blunt or ashes or marijuana, right? Not in reverence or honor, but in honor, in memory, horrible memory, and disrespectful memory of them, right? Right? So now, who is Tuka? Tuka is Shondell Gregory. He was murdered in 2012 while he was waiting to get on a school bus. He was 15 years old. This baby was waiting to get on a school bus and he was gunned down. And what King Von is rapping about in that verse is that he is claiming responsibility for the murder. And then King Von gets gunned down and we mourn him like he is some saint. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, referring to a Mahalia Jackson song, once said that I want to live the life I sang about in my song, which is great when it's applied to gospel music. It is terrible when it's applied to gangster rap. So as a researcher, I wanted to know, what does the research say about the effects of this music, right? We've had this music with us for 30 plus years, and people have written dissertations on it. They have published articles on it. They have written magazine and newspaper stories on it. They have used it. They've used rap lyrics to establish case law in criminal court. What does the research say about this music? Well, Rossell Jeffries, a researcher at Virginia Tech, he found that violent rap lyrics made men more accepting of violence towards women. And his research was some of the first to provide empirical evidence of the potential negative influence of misogynistic rap music. Other research by James Johnson et al. Found that violent rap lyrics made people more accepting of violence. Subjects reported a higher probability of engaging in violence. They accepted, there was a greater acceptance of the use of violence towards women. In an article published in the Journal of Media Psychology, it found that violent rap lyrics increased aggressive cognition, meaning it increased aggressive thoughts. Now watch this though. In that same study, the evidence did not suggest that pro-social lyrics, right, what they call good rap, positive rap, conscious rap, pro-social lyrics did not increase, or there was no evidence to suggest that pro-social lyrics increase pro-social thoughts. Meaning there's no evidence that good rap makes one think more pro-socially. Good rap doesn't lead to good thoughts, right? So when we have these debates and back and forth, and people tell me about the good rappers, the good rappers are based on the evidence. They are neither positive or negative. They have no influence. We know the negative rappers have influence on aggressive thoughts and violence towards women, right? But there is no evidence to suggest, at least at this point, that good rappers make people have good thoughts. And we can go on and on and on, but the research is very clear. Violent rap music increases aggression, violent thoughts, and acceptance of violence, and the acceptance of violence towards women. But I mean, did we really need research to tell us all of this? We have seen how movies and music has influenced us our whole lives. Most folks who are my age or a little older, maybe a year or two younger, they will remember watching Michael Jackson, right? And then trying to do the moonwalk. Or some people may remember watching kung fu movies, right? Or watching wrestling and trying to act out the moves with your little cousins, right? Trying to body slam or jump off the top rope, right? Because this is what children with imaginative and undeveloped brains do. So what happens when these same imaginative, undeveloped brains are exposed to violent rap lyrics for 5 or 6 years while that brain is developing, while that brain is forming? Well, how can 12 and 13-year-olds commit such violent crimes? Huh? How can 14 and 15-year-old girls in New Orleans carjack a 73-year-old grandmother and then drag her from the car until her arm rips from her body? How can 13 and 14-year-olds shoot and kill someone and then laugh about it? It is because they have been pumped up full of aggression and violent thoughts almost since birth. Since birth. And finally, I want to say this. If rappers rapped about killing white people or dogs the way they rapped about killing other Black people, rap would be banned tomorrow. If rappers replaced the N-word with the F word, meaning the LGBTQ slur with the F word, right? Or if they replaced the N-word with Jew, no company in the world would support it. YouTube and Spotify would ban the songs within minutes, right? Crowds would be gathering at state capitals and government buildings, and record executives would be charged with inciting hate crimes. The rappers would be banned from YouTube, banned from Facebook, banned from Instagram, right? If rappers rapped about killing F words, if rappers rapped about killing Jews, yet we can have this music fed to our children for 30 years, fed to Black people for 30 years with no backlash, no question. We don't see a problem with that. Rap is sick, and the sickness is contagious. We must examine rap. You must examine rap.